Hello, contractors, and welcome to Toolbox for the Trades. My name is Jackie Aubel, and today I'm chatting with Angela Miller, VP of Integrations at Goettl. Angela spoke about integrating a new acquisition into your operations and shared wisdom from her nearly 2 decades enrolled in the unofficial Ken Goodrich MBA program. Angela was a wealth of knowledge, and I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Angela Miller, you are the Senior Vice President of Integrations at Goettl. Today, we're going to talk about the process of integrating an acquired business into a company like Goettl. We're going to talk about what buyers and sellers should know with this integration process. I'm really excited for this conversation. Welcome to Toolbox for the Trades.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk with you today as well.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you as well, too. So just for a little feedback on the listener, Angela and I met at ServiceTitan's Pantheon user conference last year, and we were just like, I felt like you and I could have just like talked in that corner for endless time. So I think we're going to go a little long if my instinct is correct, but excited to just like dive in there and get all of your knowledge onto this show, because I think you have so much to offer the trades. We are going to kick this off though with an icebreaker. I would like to know, Angela, what would you like to be known or remembered for?
So over the years and my career, I think I've changed like everybody changes, right? You change as you age and you get more experience. But I really think at this point in my career and life, I really kind of look at things, or I try to approach everything with grit, gratitude, and grace. And I really want to try to, I guess hopefully people see that in their interactions with me. Grit, because I'm a hard worker. Like I don't want anybody else to be able to outwork me. There's always going to be smarter people in the room, but I at least have, I have that. Gratitude. I think that with gratitude, life is better, and you appreciate people, that are around you, because this is a team sport. And I think just grace, because nothing is going to, not everything is going to go your way. So when things kind of get, I think, a little tough, or you have to take a step back, to do so with grace, as well as just, forgiving yourself and forgiving others, I think is helpful, and just a really great way to approach life. So if that's something that I can offer my team and the people around me, that's really kind of how I want to kind of pursue things in my life.
That is, I say this all the time. I love that. Can I steal that? Can I start stealing that because that
Yeah.
is just, I resonate with that so much. And I think there's so much wisdom in those three words. I've personally started a gratitude practice this year. That's like one of my new year kind of things. And it really does make a difference. It's like really incredible, like not year over year, day after day, because I'm still pretty new to it. Like the little things that you take for granted. And when you notice that, it can really make a big difference.
Yeah, I think it's a good approach just in regards to resetting your mind frame, uh, uh, in regards to just having, we all have bad days. Like they're inevitable. So just to be able to kind of go through those and have the, just start all over the next day, but recognize those little things in life that really do mean a lot.
Yeah, 100%. And, grit and grace. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Those, I think for me personally, grace is something that has come as I've gotten older. Certainly me 10 years ago didn't maybe have as much grace as I have now. And grit is definitely something that comes naturally to me. And I think grit is a great way to describe it, rather than, for me, I'm not saying for you, for me, it was
Oh yeah.
perfectionism. And I like grit a lot better than that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I was a perfectionist. I call myself a recovering perfectionist. I really believe that perfectionism can really get in the way of progress, right? Because you're waiting for things to be so perfect that you don't get things executed. And it's all about just, those improvements and the continuous improvement in anything that you do. So I think that's a much better way to approach things. And if, again, I'm not perfect. So to expect other people to be that as well, like I think that's just a matter of, I think, better work environment, and you get things done. And you just know that, hey, we're going to improve upon this the next time around. And that kind of, again, adds that to that grace of, hey, you just have to kind of allow for those things to happen in your life and not expect everything to be perfect.
100%. Well said. And what a way to kick off this show. So I mentioned at the beginning, you work at Goettl, which for truly anyone
Yeah.
in the trades, Goettl is a behemoth. People know Goettl, they know Ken. I really want to know how you got into the trades and how you found yourself in this universe.
It is happenstance. I actually grew up in Ohio, was there for probably 20 some years. And after I graduated college, I just kind of wanted to go on a little adventure. So I picked St. Louis, Missouri. No idea why, but I picked St. Louis, Missouri. I think probably just because it was a short drive home because I'm close with my family. And I picked a place to live, and then I found a job. And I found a job at a best practices group, entry level position. I just said, let's give it a shot. Not anything. I didn't think it would be this career. And so in that space, or in that best practices group, I asked a lot of questions, learned a lot from, my mentors and the leaders in that group. And that's actually where I met Ken. And from there, I just kind of did a bunch of, I was a GM for a year. Not my gig. I learned that really hard, and I respect business owners and GMs for what they do, just because it is certainly it's a tough job. And so I did that for a little bit and worked on different projects, and then have been actually worked with Ken for the last, I think at this point, 17 to 18 years. It's hard to keep track of all of them. So it's been an amazing experience. And I mean, to think after graduating college that, let's go into heating and air conditioning and plumbing, never would have crossed my mind. A career that I've had and what this industry has given me is just amazing. And I am so grateful for that. And, still just kind of, I look back and go, it's just that one decision that I made to pick up and move and just start a new adventure. So 20
Incredible.
some years later.
I know it's truly incredible. And I relate to your story too. I had no ambitions of being a podcaster for this industry. I had no ambitions of working in this industry, although my dad was a carpenter. And I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunities here. And it sounds like same thing. And I also have to say, I love that you are like, GM, not for me. I think sometimes when you're a perfectionist or a hard worker like the two of us are, it's really good to know things you don't like to do. Because then for me, I was like, anything is possible, but being able to narrow down, but I know these three things, I'm not going to do them again.
I think a lot of times when you're trying to find out what you want to do, or you're trying to find out, okay, what are the things that I like, is at least going back and saying, okay, here are the things that I don't like. I know that these things don't fit, me, my personality, my strengths, and so if you're trying to figure out what to do, sometimes just writing down, okay, here's what I don't want to do, here's what I don't like, will point you in a direction.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of things, that you don't want to do, I think that is actually a really people to be in when they're thinking about selling their business, right? What are the things
Yeah.
that you don't want to do anymore? So many owners who, usually start off as technicians, or this is the family business, and they grow this entity and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that I would be responsible for financials or for HR. And so what I'm hearing in the space is that partnering with private equity or partnering with companies like Goettl is a really great opportunity to offset some of those
Yeah.
things that you necessarily aren't an expert at. So, just to kind of set the stage here, you are the VP of Integrations, which is all about how Goettl has been buying companies and integrating them into their ecosystem. So tell me a
Yep.
little bit about that and what your role entails, how your team is structured too, because I'm really interested in that.
Okay, so I guess maybe just starting with just kind of, I guess maybe how Goettl approaches partnering with, companies that we purchase. We really do want to take those things off the plates of those owners. I think to your point, they get into the business because they understand how to fix an air conditioner, how to sell an air conditioner, how to sell a water heater, and then they get into business and realize there's again IT, HR, insurance, accounting, marketing. I mean, there's the list just goes on and on. And as that business owner, and from a family business perspective, you are that, right? So at the very beginning, you kind of have to do all those things. And as your business grows, you don't have the bandwidth to tackle all that stuff, and you don't have the bandwidth to learn all that stuff. You have to, I think, kind of get enough knowledge so that you can, I think, hire the right people. But one of the things that I think that Goettl has really kind of focused on is that's the value we want to bring to the business owners, is to be able to take those things off their plate so they can focus on what they're good at and their strengths, which is the technical side of the business, the customer service side of the business. And so, when we come in, we have a team, an integrations team full time, and actually there's about 3 of us, and then we have business partners within the business, in their department. So we have an HR person that is a part of the team. We have somebody from accounting that's a part of the team. We have somebody from
Sure.
IT and marketing that works with us. But the solid full-time team is there as the liaison between the team, the company and those employees and our team here, so that they know they have one single person that they have to go to at the beginning. Because to learn, okay, who do I go for that? Who do I go to for this? Who do I talk to for this? And so if they, we're really that relationship, and we really help try to bridge that communication initially and build those relationships within the business so that we can really have a true partnership, and and to really kind of smooth out those, I think, learning new team members.
Yeah, because that can be so tough. So I've been at Service, I've mentioned this before on the show. I've been at ServiceTitan since we were, less than 300 employees, and now we're in the
Oh,
thousands.
yeah.
And sometimes I get whiplash. I'm like, wait, who are you? What are you working on? Like, that's incredible. Actually, I went to the office the other day, and there used to be an app we had to access, and now the app is gone. And I'm like, I didn't know that. And so like it's it's the testament to moving fast and how that can be,
Yes.
that you can just miss things. Like someone told me, oh, there was an email about it. And I was like, I didn't see that email.
Yeah.
So
How
I
many
think
emails
it's
do we
really
get a
great.
day, right?
I know. Well, for me, it's Slacks, but yes, how many Slacks and
Yes.
emails do I get a day is, so I think it's really great to establish those relationships. And this actually goes into my next question for you, because I know you kind of have a 90-day plan. You first acquire an asset. So what does that look like? What does the first 90 days look like? I'm a business owner. I've sold to Goettl. I'm meeting with Angela. What do the next 3
Yeah.
months look like for me?
Yeah, so we kind of break up, obviously you've got everything that goes on prior to the actual, what we call day one, when it's official, the acquisition's closed. And so there's a lot of, pre-work that we do, and try to learn the business without being, disruptive, because you have to find that balance in between making sure that they're still producing for themselves and their employees. And, you've got this whole other project kind of going on in the background. Selling your business is a heavy lift. I think that, it's a huge, the reward in selling your business and I think is people have heard and experienced over the last, this has been going on in the industry forever.
But it's been going on a lot in the last like 4 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, the cycle, I think, and the speed has definitely picked up. So, we've got all the pre-work that we do, and, we try to learn as much about the business and the way that it's structured and their workflows. But it's not, you really get to, I think, a better perspective is when you've got boots on the ground. So the first 90 days, that team, right now is really a team of 3. We're generalists. We know pretty much every aspect of the business and what resources we need to match up to ensure that their team is feeling good about this, that we're getting them on some of our workflows, continuously making sure that their team members are feeling good about the transaction, because no matter how much you, I think, can assure them that, we brought this business because we're a service business, we need people, we value their people. I think there's this thing that goes in the people's back of this storyline in the back of their heads of, okay, P is known for, going in, and the first thing they can do is cut over, cut a bunch of people so they can, I think get some, quick ROI. But that's not the case in this industry at all. This is a people business. And so we need we need the techs to go service the customers. And we need those customers. I mean, that's the two things that have the biggest value for us is you need those customers and you need those techs. So as as an integrations team, we want to ensure that those are not as least disrupted as possible. So we want to make sure the customer doesn't feel that there's been a change, and we want to ensure that the technicians also, the impact has been, is lowered. And I think that we do a great job at that, in the sense of the day before and the day after, the techs don't feel it. They have some new faces around, and they have a new phone, new iPad. They log into ServiceTitan, which is, that we set up prior to close. And then they go out and the next day and run jobs. But there to the point of having now a team back in shared services on a platform where we have the accounting and the marketing, we have to integrate those types of things to prove the value of why we partnered.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm going to stop you for a second. I think this is really good to be talking about here, because I've been in the tech business for my entire career, and I've seen companies I've worked for be open one day and close the other. So I consider myself to always be high sensitivity to, like, stuff's about to go down. Will I still be employed by the end of the day? And
Yeah.
I think when you have PE come in, when you have a buyer come in, I can totally see why technicians and that purchased asset are going to be scrambling. But I think it's really important for folks listening who are thinking about selling their business, in the process of selling their business, to remind technicians, you are an asset. There's no secret there is a hiring issue. It is no secret that companies are having to build their techs up from scratch, which does take time. So if you're an accomplished tech who's great with customer service, chances are you're going to be fine. In fact, I would think that there would be more opportunity for their career to grow under circumstances like Goettl coming in and purchasing you.
I think that's one of the biggest things for everybody on these teams, right? As a family business, the only way, I think, is if, the one of the family members retires, is the way that you're able to move up in the business. Here, with the number of branches, having shared services, there's so many opportunities to have your career progress in so many different avenues that I don't think would be available in a smaller, branch, or just one operation. So I think that really is something that we do, share with the techs, share with the office team as well. That, no, I don't want to forget them at
Yes,
all.
of course.
They're just as critical to those relationships with customers and keeping the wheel turning. And I think the industry has changed. I've been through lots of acquisitions, and even on both sides. So, with working with Ken, I've been on the buyer side and the seller side. And so, as early on in the career, I think probably even 15 years ago, they wouldn't tell, the staff that this is happening. And I think that approach has really changed. I think that there is a sweet spot in regards to making sure that you talk to the team to say, hey, this is coming. This is an exciting time. You set the tone for it. I think if you wait and leave it as a surprise and everybody comes in and says, guess what? We were just sold. those kinds of surprises aren't good ones, because they're
I
always waiting
agree.
for the other shoe to drop. And so I think that the communication and how really the industry has approached it and changed has been for the better in that realm, because I think they feel a part of it and they can get excited about the partnership, because it really is about, I think lifting everybody up and giving people opportunity. We like to see it.
Of course. And also I have to say, this I have a master we're going to get into master's degrees in a second, but I have a
Yeah.
master's in marriage and family therapy. And so this podcast has by happenstance just become lightly mental health focused as well. General best practice, people don't like big change sprung on them. So definitely start
Right.
doing due diligence if you're thinking about selling or even acquiring. You mentioned, that you were on the side of Goettl selling, which was gigantic, right? I would
Yes.
love pivot to that real quickly. I would love to know for folks listening who want to sell a business to PE or to Goettl, what is your one big piece of advice?
I think the biggest piece of advice is to understand why you want to sell. I mean, the money obviously is a key part of that, but I think it's important to put it in the right order, and I think it should be second. And the reason why is because money is a vehicle for other things and other goals. So if you're trying to de-risk yourself in regards to, hey, I'm in a part of my career that I want to just kind of have a partner so that we can grow the business so that I have the capital. If you are looking to, have a succession plan, that's, another option. If you're looking to retire, if you're looking to give your, children, I guess, the ability to go to college, or hey, this is I can set up a trust fund for them, and have generational wealth. I think that those are the things that you have to kind of focus on and get really clear about. Okay, this is the real goal. Because those things that you kind of, to the point of change, I think that through the process you can have moments of kind of doubt, but to really kind of take a moment and refocus yourself on why you're doing this. I think you get to a better outcome and you have better expectations of the process.
I 100% agree with you. I like the concept of money as a vehicle and getting a little bit more specific as to what that money is going, we're hoping that money is going to accomplish for you. Because I think, yeah, it's making me think. So I'm sure it's making the people listening think. So I 100% agree. Now, on the flip side, what is your biggest piece of advice for folks that are looking to grow via acquisitions, or maybe looking at some of their local competitors, or maybe they want to expand to a different area? What would you say, hey, these are things to keep in mind if you're preparing to acquire a business?
Yeah, I think that the things that you want to make sure is you have, a plan, you have a strategy, you understand the value that you want to, actually the value that goes back and forth between those two parties. So what value do you bring to the table in this transaction? And then what value does this, target company bring to the business? And to really kind of get clear on that as well. And, again, plan, plan, and then also be flexible enough to pivot when you need to, because you're never going to be able to anticipate all the things that kind of happen within this. And there's always, I think, when I say a surprise, we talked about the bad surprise. Sometimes let's just call it I think a better term is opportunity. There's always an opportunity that you didn't anticipate. And being able to pivot off of those and to really capture that, I think, is important. But without planning and without really having a clear set goal, that you can kind of, I think, get sidetracked, and end up with, a partnership that doesn't necessarily work for both parties.
Yeah. So again, focusing in on what that goal is, whether we're going to acquire a new service line, get a new roster of customers, have this great reputation attached to us, like those are the things that you need to identify. Um, I'm going to ask you a question that I didn't send you in advance. So feel free to say, I don't want to
Okay.
answer this, but I would love to know, because you've had so much experience now. Has there ever been a company that you were in the process of buying and then, or thinking about buying, and then you decided, actually, this isn't going to be a good fit? And why was that?
Yes. I mean, working with Ken for the last 18, 18 years, 17, 18 years, the amount of acquisitions, tuck-ins, telephone numbers, all the different types of acquisitions that you can go do. I've experienced them all. I've kind of had experience with all of them in some form or fashion over the years. And I am sure that we've had one. I can't recall a specific one to say, oh yeah, this one's really memorable, like this, but um, yeah, I can't recall that there was one specific one. I think because the ones that you remember are the ones that have been just the real success, the real successes, or the ones that are almost kind of the most difficult and become the best success, are the ones that I think kind of resonate most with me.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, I did ask you, I did want you to share a
You did.
story if you had one of the most memorable acquisition you've been a part of. So tell me about that.
So it's actually a recent one, and I won't name any names, but I'm sure if he listens, he'll know exactly who he is. So we had an acquisition, and we showed up. His wife was actually a part of the business, and the plan was, and this was their choice, that she was going to unwind herself from the business, but she was, I think, a key part in the day-to-day operations for him. And then also, as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, you are the boss. You don't have a boss. And so that shift a bit when you start partnering and then you have to collaborate with people, I think can kind of, throw people for a little bit of a loop. And that day to day muscle memory that you have in running your business gets shifted a bit. And so this was just very difficult for him at the beginning of it. So the team, myself and the group of others that show up and work with the team boots on the ground to help transition, uh we struggled because he was very, I mean, he's a very direct person, so he would tell you like, I'm not liking this, I don't, like he was very direct, which I so appreciate with people, in directness, but it can be jarring for some people and hard to understand and adjust. So we constantly as a team, I think, had to kind of come in and just continue to pivot and to continue to kind of come to the table differently every day to try to meet him where he was at. Uh, why it made the why it's the most memorable for me is because it's the most successful. I mean, they are a superstar branch for us. The relationship I still have with him, running that branch, like we talk frequently, and it's well within. I mean, it's been long, like he's been integrated. There's not necessarily any reason for us to discuss anything because he's partnered with accounting. He knows who to talk to with, IT and marketing. So, but we talk regularly and have a fantastic relationship. And so that's really meaningful. And, ultimately at the end of the day, he was able to accomplish his goals. We were able to accomplish our goals. And that, the first couple weeks of just, kind of powering through those, just I think relationship and building the relationship, and how, just how often that we had to continue just to kind of pull back and reassess and adjust ourselves, I think really made it memorable for us as a
Yeah.
team. And I think it just developed our skills and our ability to tackle, just any kind of thing that gets thrown our way. Now have the experience to be able to take it all in stride.
Yeah, I'm so happy you shared that story. I'm going to bring it back to mental health again, because even though this is a business
Yeah.
transaction, this is still a relationship. This is relational, and you have to build trust with one another. Because, like you said, this owner for maybe decades has been answering to himself, has been the one who called the shots, who hasn't had to report up to anyone. And I can imagine. I put myself in the seat of the owner. Okay, here's this asset I built for decades. I just sold it to these guys, and they're telling me
Right.
how I'm supposed to be, doing things, and I'm mad about it. So I think, to your point, direct communication and being really clear about, hey, this is bumping me the wrong way, is just a good practice for both parties. Because even though direct communication can be really scary, and uncomfortable at the beginning. More and more direct communication, in my opinion, develops a large and strong foundation for trust. And so I think it's great that he was able to do that. And then in turn, you guys learned, all right, this is what maybe a more, I don't want to say scared, but it feels like a scare. I would be scared because this is this thing I've grown for forever. I'm so happy you
Well,
shared that story because I think there's a lot of learnings in there for folks who are approaching this transaction from either side, the buyer or the seller.
yeah, I think, the identification of how important trust is, I think is key, right? In any relationship, whether it's with integrations or within your own team, I think that it's such an important factor in success as a team and in collaboration, and to really kind of, I think, get to the best solution. So you have to be able to allow the space for your team to speak up and to be able to say, hey, I'm kind of struggling over here. This is what I need help with. And if you don't have trust that's built, then they're not gonna raise their hands and to kind of point that out. And we're not, as a business, not going to get to the best solution, and or it's just going to take you longer. So I think, just building that relationship first, first and foremost is key to any kind of integration. And it takes a little bit of time. So kind of going back to, yes, we have a plan, we have an entire checklist that's very sterile of, okay, let's make sure we do this, and this. But we also have to be flexible to say, hey, we need to slow down here and approach this a little bit differently. We're all on the same page on these areas. This one, they're a successful business. It's not critical for us to go in and change that. Like to kind of, I think, the idea of, they have things to offer us as well in workflows and processes. And I think it's important to recognize those things and to really take an opportunity to really listen and learn in those situations where it could improve our business. We're always trying to innovate, and sometimes that innovation doesn't have to be technical. It doesn't have to be, a software. It's about the step before that. Though ServiceTitan is key to all of those things. I think it really is that human portion of the innovation to say, hey, how can we do this better? And how can we take what they're doing and implement it inward? And really, it goes back to understanding, okay, how are they doing this? What is the outcome of those workflows? What is the technician doing in the field that's different than we're doing? And if the outcome is better than what we're doing today, it's an easy buy-in from the rest of the GMs to say, hey, like, we should do this, because we're all, I mean, Ghetto is competitive in a good way because we all want to win, and so we'll take those opportunities, and we're not too, I think, we're open to the idea of, hey, how do we improve this, right? It's that improvement and continuous improvement that we've become, kind of good at, that it's a double-edged sword, the idea of continuous improvement, or just the competitiveness of, hey, great job. We did an amazing job last year or last month. And as soon as we say that and pat ourselves in the back, we then turn around and say, how do we do it better? And so that can kind of, that can be, I think, in and of itself, can put a little bit of stress on people. But that's just, I think, how Goettl has grown and have stayed ahead of the curve, is that we always come back and go, how can we do it better? And we don't rest in that, in that kind of realm of, okay, we're good at this, we're good, let's just continue on. Nope,
Let's
we're
move on.
constantly
Yeah.
looking at ways,
Looking for
let's
growth.
let's yeah, and looking for better processes and finding out what else is out there. So that's, I think that from a standpoint of how that relationship can really be two ways. That's one of the ways that we try to, I think, learn from each other and gain value between the
Yeah.
partnership.
I'm so happy you brought that up because that was one of my questions was, because you had mentioned in our initial call that you actually sometimes take on workflows that these companies have adopted that you see opportunity for in the Goettl universe. And I think that's also really key for business owners who are doing this growth through acquisition strategy to keep in mind is, you know, yes, you're the entity that's buying. Maybe you have a little bit more purchasing power. Maybe you're a little bit bigger, but you can still learn something from someone who has a significantly smaller operation than you do. You can still learn from people that have done things a little bit differently. And that's one of the reasons why on this podcast, I love showcasing folks from all different sizes, because I really think that you can always be learning. And I think it goes back to your grace component of the grit, gratitude, and grace. It's like, okay, have the grace to say, oh, wow, we really weren't doing that the way we could have, but this guy that we're bringing into our business is. And so let's learn from him or her and make the company as a whole even better. So I'm so happy that you shared that bit of information.
Yeah, I'm happy. I mean, yeah, I mean, I mean, even ServiceTitan and Pantheon and these podcasts, listening to them and just taking in information and, constantly be learning. We do Gallup and we actually do Gallup strengths for anybody. And so I'm a high learner. That's one of my strengths. I just love to take in information. So that kind of comes out in a lot of ways. But I think that those are all the things that you can do as a business owner or even just a part of this industry. There's so many resources out there. And people are super open to just share their experience and provide information and guidance. Even in the competitive nature of it, I think, the industry has really, just been open to being partners with other people that you would, I think, look otherwise as, oh no, he's my competitor, and take it as a threat. I think there's a great balance there. Yeah, I think there's a great balance in that within this industry that I don't know. I would see that in all industries, right? So I think that's something
Yeah.
that's unique and special.
I think so too. It's one of the reasons I really like working in this industry. So Angela, you've been so gracious with your time and you've really given us so much to think about here. But I must ask, 17, 18 years with Ken Goodrich. And I know you're actually getting your own
Yeah.
MBA right now, which is where we really connected on Pantheon. I would love if you could tell me a little bit, you know, what is your biggest takeaway so far from your classic MBA program and then the unofficial Ken Goodrich MBA program? And how have those two experiences differed for you?
Yeah, so, I think it's a difference between theory and practice and experience. So you go to class and you learn the theories and you kind of understand, I think, in more in depth, the things that you've experienced. And I don't know anybody that can go from a bachelor's degree and then go straight into earning their MBA, because one of the things that I think has helped me really through these last 2 years is having that experience to pull on when we're talking about different situations in class, and to be able to say, oh, okay, this is how it applies. So I'll spend some time and I can go down rabbit holes in some of my classes because I'm like, oh, okay, this would apply here, and I'm taking notes and I'm constantly taking a look at, okay, this is how I should have looked at this situation. But the 17 years, 18 years, like, again, I'm always amazed at how long, how time flies. Is just the opportunity to have like kind of experienced all facets of this business, and to learn and to watch and to really just take in all the different scenarios and things and the challenges and how you go through them, has really just is the experience in and of itself is I think invaluable. I think that I chose to get my MBA because 20 some years ago I wrote it down as a goal, and I sat there and I looked and I was cleaning out my drawers at home and I found this sheet with my goals, and I had a certain kind of car that I wanted. I'm going to get my MBA. And so it was kind of like, I mean, I laugh about the kind of car that I wanted back then because it is clearly not anything that I ever got, and I certainly wouldn't want it now. But that MBA, that MBA really was kind of just this I think really about the process and the learning of it more so than, putting it on my resume. Because I think that the experience that I've had speaks far, greater to my capabilities in executing certain things and helping other people. And I think kind of just being a generalist in business, and being able to kind of, I think, a lot of times bridge those, like I can kind of come into a situation and see things differently because I have a little bit of an accounting background, I have a little bit of operations background, and I can make connections or at least help people communicate and be that mediator. And it's just through that experience. So while I have loved my MBA program, I'm so happy that I did it. By far, it was more of accomplishing a goal than it was really about like, hey, this is going to elevate my career, um, in that sense. So
Yeah, my master's was the exact same thing because it's like one of these things I have as a memory when I was like a little girl, like I'm gonna get a
yeah,
master's degree, and so it was like the pandemic hit, and I was like, well, I guess now's the time. So
yeah.
I'm very aligned with you. I love always be learning. I think that is such a great way to live, and I think it's what we're so many of our listeners of the show and the trades in general live. Like this is a space where people are so generous with their knowledge, with their time, and there's so much opportunity for you to take if you want to take it. So, Angela, this was a lovely conversation filled with so much good nuggets. So, thank you again. I feel like we did cover everything, but just in case we didn't, what should I have talked to you about that we didn't get a chance to?
Oh, what did we not talk about? I guess maybe just in the sense of I just want to, I think, go back and touch again on the industry itself and how I think full of opportunity it is. And for anybody that, kind of, I guess, maybe thinks that, oh, why would I want to go into heating and air conditioning or plumbing or electrical or roofing? I think that just from my own experience and everything that I've seen for so many other business owners is it's really life changing. And, for people to get into the business, it's a low cost of entry. And so they can start with a truck out of their home, start, building a business. You've got the acquisition side, but even if you don't have that, most people started this way. And how it's changed their lives. And even for technicians that don't want to own a business, I think or even, somebody that is, wants to work in business but isn't a tech, the it is a necessity in the world. You're not going to see, really in a lot of ways, that demand is never going to go away. People are always going to need plumbing. People are always going to need heat, air conditioning. They need a roof over their head. And so the services that this industry provides to the community really is always going to be there. Is the way that, the business is shaped going to change? Sure. I mean, all businesses do. But, in the grand scheme of things, this isn't a wonderful business to be in, a wonderful career. You can really, I think, create a wonderful life for yourself, no matter what role you play in the business. There's such great opportunity in here. And I encourage anyone to, say, hey, maybe college isn't for me. And this is somebody who has a lifelong, loves going and getting a degree. This is, for somebody, I
Same.
truly believe that, you can go and have, this career that really sets you up for a wonderful life. So I think that's the biggest, I think, for me, another thing to share.
Yeah. No, 100% with you. I mean, since in my time being in this industry, I have sung its praises, and I'm so happy that you did the same. And yeah, right back at you. As someone who loves a degree, I certainly not. I know it's not for everybody. I just love the organization of it, and the like. This is when my due date is, and now I'm going to put together. There's like an organization component that just scratches my brain in the right way. That even when
Yeah.
when I was in the thick of my master's degree, like writing my thesis, I was like, it's okay. I'll get through it. I don't know how I did it, but it was delightful. And when are you set to graduate, by the way?
Actually, this May. So I'm at the tail end, and this is where you have to dig deep, right? This is where that
Yep.
grit comes in and
Yep.
say, okay, I've only got a few more classes. let's not slack off. Let's continue to just, pour in those extra hours and finish strong. So this is, again, that's nearing the end. So I'm super excited and already trying to figure out what I'm going to do next in my spare time.
Same. Yes. Okay. Well, Angela, it was delightful chatting with you. Thank you so much for being a guest on Toolbox for the Trades. Really, really appreciated your time. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was great speaking with you again and hope to see you soon.